Bish, bash, bosh. Welcome back, folks, to Fit with Us podcast. That was a new intro. I might start that every week. Welcome back to Fit with Us podcast, episode 21, I believe. Apparently, Kev told us that we are now in the top 10% of podcasts because most podcasts don't make it after episode 10. Can you believe that?
Fuck. To be fair, that's an achievement. I'll get that put in the achievement folder.
Absolutely. That's going right in the CV.
It's actually one of the questions I was going to ask you, mate. I was literally had in the top of my brain there. I was like, what podcasts do you listen to? Like, what's your podcast? What do you go to?
I'll answer that question in a wee second. I've got a question for you. How are you?
Fuck your question. No, I'm good, mate. I've no compl well, actually, I do have complaints because I don't know what time of day it is. Like, where I don't know if this is 8, 9, or 10. I know we arranged that we're doing this at 9 o'clock on a Sunday for the first time in God knows how long. But I think you're trying to play. I think you're just trying to set us up because I was like the clocks go forward. I don't know what time it is. I think we're both here at the same time, but I'm still not entirely sure. Would this have been the clocks are going forward now? So this is technically 8, but it's actually 9 now. That would be right, wouldn't it?
Aye. Aye, that's right. It fucks you up that extra word, doesn't it?
Wait till you hear this. Hold on. That's caffeine, and that's about to start entering my veins. So
Ah,
give me 20 minutes. That's how I'm going to be feeling in 20 minutes. Pause.
aye. I tell you, it's like that extra hour, it even fucked up my alarm, right? I had my alarm set for 6:45 and 7. Do you know when my alarm went off?
Right.
7:01. I've never set my alarm for 7:01 in my life.
That's AI, mate. Elon Musk taking it too far.
Anyway, aye, we're here, we're getting it done. Now, to answer your question, bringing it back to the podcast question, I listen to, does it have to be fitness related or just any podcast at all?
Hold on, mate. I'm feeling rude now. How are you? Need to ask a question. How are you?
I'm doing well, mate. I'm doing well. I'm feeling a wee bit tired because that hour has fucked us up, but do you know what? Caffeine is going in.
They got the dog fella, which
The dog fella.
which is God just backwards. So God's the
Yes.
dog fella. There you are. Good man.
Do you like it? Do you like it? Does it say dog or does it say D&G?
I
There
don't
you
know, mate.
go.
I'm going to have to
Dogs.
wait till that caffeine kicks in before I answer that. Ask at the end of the podcast.
Aye, so does it need to be related to any sort of kind of health and fitness podcast or just any in general?
Nah, mate, I'm just genuinely interested.
So I listen to Case Files, my number one listen podcast. That's obviously a true crime podcast. I listen to a podcast called Some Laugh. It's a couple of Scottish comedians that run it. That's quite good. Fitness stuff though, I listen to Jordan Syatt mini podcast. I also listen to Chat Shit Get Cancelled, which is a podcast that I was quite recently on. That's by Gavin McKinney. He gives some very solid health and fitness advice, and I don't know. I think that's about it. I tend to listen to audiobooks more than I do podcasts now. I'm getting old.
Fair enough. How was your other podcast now that you're abandoning Fit With Us and you're moving on to
I
Big?
know.
So,
Cheating on you, man. It was good. It was very, very nerve-wracking. Like we've just got a pure, simple, basic setup where we do it over Zoom. But that was like in a studio. The microphone was like in my face. There was a camera pointing right in my face. So it was very nerve-wracking at first. But see, after like 5, 10 minutes, you don't even remember that you're on a podcast. You think you're just having a chat. Do you know what I mean? So kind of similar to when we started, it was quite nervy at first and it was very scripted. Now we just come on with a couple of ideas and we just have a chat. And that's kind of the way it went on Tuesday there. Monday, sorry, it was we recorded it. So it was good. It was good. It was definitely experience.
don't undermine our wee podcast. We're in the top 10% of podcasts.
Mate, I am not undermining it at all. I love this setup. It's your fault for being in Ireland.
I was going to say, mate, otherwise we could get the casting couch and get everything sorted, the camera in your face, fucking whatever you want in your face, mate.
I mean, mentioning the casting couch and whatever you want in your face, I don't know if that's a very good topic to start talking about. What podcast do you listen to? Let's just swiftly move on.
um, To me, I listen to everything and anything. Like the only go-tos I have are the really sad ones where I listen to Super Scoreboard because I'm out a long run or I'm cycling and I don't actually need to listen to it and I can just hear generally people raging. And I don't know why that makes me feel better about myself, but listening to raging people makes me feel good. There are certain days that I avoid it because I'm very aware that I might get raging if I listen to it. I'll not go too deep into that, but I've not listened to a lot of it this season, let's put it that way. But anyway, outside of that, I do listen to a bit of Joe Rogan. I listen to Diary of a CEO, but actually much more of a I'll go for certain people, as in like if I want to hear, if there's somebody that interests me, I'll go and try and find what podcasts they've been on and listen to them more so than anything else. And then I listen to a lot of audiobooks myself. I've always kind of been that even before Audible. I used to pay fucking 17 quid for an audiobook in like the Apple store. I've still got like probably about 30 books on the Apple store that I've paid a small fortune for.
Audiobooks are amazing, like especially ones that, like you said, ones that you don't really need to listen to. I mean, I'm listening to a book just now. It's a Dean Koontz book, and honestly, I kind of know the premise of the story, but see if you were to ask me details about it, I wouldn't have a clue. And it's because I listen to that when I'm training. I'm sick of listening to music unless I'm really needing it. Like I say, if I'm really needing fucking Slipknot screaming in my ear, then I'll put it on. But usually 9 times out of 10, I've got an audiobook on, and it helps me just kind of switch off. So yeah, audiobooks are absolutely class. Sometimes though, I prefer to read a book. Like I was listening to The Chimp Paradox,
Yeah, yeah.
and I found myself having to skip back chapters because I got to the end of a chapter and I went, I have no fucking idea what he just said.
It's probably different learning styles though. Like I find the opposite with, albeit I have done that with audiobooks before, but that usually finds that I'm not finding overly captivating. But like when I read books, I find myself forcing myself to read a book and I'm like, right, do
Hmm.
10 or 15 pages. And already in my head it's become a task, but then I'm reading it and then I'll get fixated on something, so I'll be thinking about it, but I'm still reading pages and I'm like, I've just read 2 pages and I have no idea what's happened. I need to go back and read 2 pages. And then I'm like,
Hmm.
I've not actually taken anything from it. So my preferred one is listening. There are certain books I'm reading one at the moment. It's a Vex King book. It's not Ease Good Vibes, Good Life. I think it's his new one, or it's probably not new anymore, but Healing is a New High. Um, I'm finding that interesting. The psychology, I'm into that. Like it's a lot of very actionable things, and because I work with a lot of people, I'm like that makes sense, and this, and this. So again, it's quite easy to pick up. But I did from a mentor once. He was like, if you want to absorb information, to hit as many different like pathways as you can, the best way to do it is to read it and listen to it at the same time. So you're
Aye.
absolutely yeah,
Aye.
doing it that way. Like
Aye. But then who's going to buy a paper version of the book and an audio version of the book?
well, here's the thing. Do you know Himozi?
Yes.
So he in his book, The $1 Million Offers, I think he for this reason done the same thing where if you buy his physical book, you get a copy of the audiobook for free, or something as a vice versa, something like that. Like so
Nice.
that,
Nice.
and he literally talks about it in the second chapter. Probably should have talked about it in the first chapter, so people have already done both. But like he talks about that in the second chapter. He's like, look, if you've got it as a paper, the audio one's free because of the learning style. Like, just get both of it in so you
Hmm.
can absorb it. I'm like, fucking fair play to you, big man.
I think I would learn very, very good that way as well. See, just listening to it and reading along at the same time. I think I would take it in so much more.
Yeah, I've done it a few times. Definitely, yeah, I found it a lot easier. I wish I had known these type of things when I was at uni because I really struggled with the stuff they give you because it's just fucking. Actually, saying that, I'm going. I had a book. See, there's certain books you just shouldn't listen to, like just should not listen to, full stop. But I had one that was Mark Ripito's programming for, like, I think it was athletes or whatever. I had a solid hour at one point where I was on my bike where he was just going through sets and reps, and he's like 5 times 5, like, and then he's do that for 12 weeks. And it's just like, it was just honestly somebody reciting numbers. I'm like, clearly, I need this book in front of me to see exactly what he's talking about, because I've just spent an
Mhm.
hour listening to him going through different sets and rep ranges. And my head, it feels like the Matrix. It's just fucking code that's coming down.
Aye.
Nah, not for me.
You know what? That sounds very similar to the way my brain works when I try to explain something. Something so simplistic like rep ranges and sets, and my brain just turns into absolute mush. Do you know what it is? My head's always like 2 or 3 sentences ahead, and my mouth can't keep up, and then it all becomes mumbo jumbo, and I need to like take a deep breath and start again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Do you know? Um, Listen, I was wanting to talk to you about there's a big thing on social media just now. Lane Norton done a clip about it. There's another couple of PTs that done a post about it. Did you see the clip that came out from Oprah? Do you know who Oprah is? I'm assuming you do.
Oh, Oprah is in the fucking the talk host.
Yes.
I thought you said Oprah. I thought you were missing the R there, and I was like, oh, who the
No.
fuck is Oprah? No, no, I don't think. No, I've not seen it. Is it? Go on, tell me, tell me.
Right, so big clip came out. Obviously Oprah's been like for years and years she's had problems with her body size and she's been kind of targeted online, etc. And obviously she's like well known. She's fucking would you say world famous? I would say world famous.
Well, I didn't know who she was 10 seconds ago when you asked me. So,
You must not get her in Ireland. You were racist earlier. So I'm assuming most people know Oprah. So she's struggled for years and years with her like body image and her size and dieting and etc. And she's tried X, Y, and Z. But she came out this week and she had, of all people, she had a psychologist on her show talking about the obesity issue. And basically the premise of the conversation was calories in, calories out doesn't work for everyone, right?
okay.
Now, what Oprah said is like our body types. She was bringing in some types and stuff. Our body types. She's like, if I eat an apple crumble at 11 o'clock at night, I'll be 2 pounds heavier in the morning. And I was thinking, if I eat an apple crumble at night, at 11 o'clock at night, I'm going to be 2 pounds heavier in the morning. Doesn't mean it's body fat, right? So then a psychologist started talking. Psychologist, honestly, of all people to talk about obesity, fucking psychologist said, this is why calories in, calories out doesn't work for everyone. But calories in, calories out works for every single individual on the planet. It's exactly how we gain and how we lose body fat. Now, I think what they are getting confused with calories in, calories out is calorie counting. Do you know what I mean? Calories in, calories out, and calorie counting are two very different things, but so many things can come into play. Of course, your genetics, your age, your activity levels, how much lean mass you have. But at the end of the day, calories in, calories out works for everybody. It's the sole way that I can see you getting wound up. Are you gonna, am I,
Yeah, mate. I do feel the caffeine's just kind of sitting there at a point where I'm digesting what you're saying, and it is triggering me a wee bit. But yeah, no, keep going, mate. Keep going.
but the thing is, like, she's got a massive, massive platform. She gives it to millions and millions and millions of people, and they're spouting this shite over national television, and it's making our job 100 times harder because who's people going to believe? Two PTs for Glasgow with a couple of thousand followers, or Oprah, who is a multi-billionaire, I believe, who has a massive platform, is all over national television over the world. Who are people going to be swayed to believe more? Do you know what I mean?
Well, I'll tell you what, Oprah, we're in the top 10% of podcasts, so we can shed some light on this. So you're not, and I feel like I'll take the reins on this one. So I have actually read Oprah's book, so I've contributed towards her financial gain so that she can bring guests like that on the show. So I'm partly
Hold,
responsible.
hold on, hold on a minute here. I thought you didn't fucking know her.
I didn't know Oprah. I know Oprah though. I know the one with the heart. Anyway, so Oprah, I've contributed towards her success in some meaningful way. So I feel it's important I try and rectify my mistake because her book is a very good read. But actually, one of the things that she says in her book is she talks about her own body image and, as you touched on there, her weight. And one of the things she said is she would much prefer to eat a cake or a cookie or whatever because she's only here for whatever amount of time. That's fine. That's your prerogative. That's what you want to do. But at no point that way that she had said it to me very much seems like, cool, she doesn't want to address the fact she still can have that and still make progress in her goal. The way she said it, she's
Mhm.
essentially fixed to this viewpoint of it's one or the other. Fair enough. And that's what the majority of people do. But that's also what somebody who'll go, oh, you only live once and eats a donut every single fucking time they've been presented with it. That's absolutely fine. There's no issue with doing that, but understanding that donut is between probably 300 and 550 calories. And if you're having more than one, then you're probably going to be a little bit more chunky and a little less funky. So I think with that, it's important to understand that you absolutely can. What annoys me is, as human beings, we all have opinions about food. So, like, we all eat that every single person that you've met eats, which means is they have an opinion about their food and what way to do things, etc., etc., etc. No issues on that. But just because you've got an opinion about something doesn't mean that you're right about it. You take the emotion away from anything else that has numbers involved. That's for me like saying that putting fucking petrol in a car. There's some cars that just don't drive when you put petrol in it. You're like, fucking what, mate? Like, don't talk utter shite. Like, or somebody will probably tell me about diesel. I don't drive, so probably a poor analogy, but like fucking, if you put fuel in a car, it doesn't work anymore. And you're like, right, mate, that's not entirely true. Like, if you put fuel in a car, it will get to a certain point. Some are better absorbing it, some are not. But at the same time, like, there is numbers if you look at and you learn enough about your car and what fuel works, then you'll know how to manage it. It's the same with that. It's your responsibility to find out about your body in terms of, again, how much you burn on a day-to-day basis, and again, how much you're consuming. And don't be ignorant to the fact that if you are somebody who doesn't eat a lot, just because you skip breakfast and then have two donuts at lunch and then binge away through a weekend doesn't mean you don't eat a lot. It just means you eat a lot when you fucking shouldn't be eating a lot. Done.
You, you feeling okay?
No, no, no.
That caffeine is kicked right in there, hasn't
Yeah,
it?
it's there. It's there.
No, mate, I completely agree with you. And you know, it just kind of it wound me up a wee bit because obviously she does have a massive platform, but they're getting uneducated people. I just it blows my mind why they got a psychologist on to talk about obesity and calories, because psychologists are not qualified in the field of health and fitness. Do you know what I mean? So why not get an actual accredited personal trainer or a nutritionist? Fuck the personal trainer, get a like proper nutritionist on, Eddie Abu, get him on. No, don't get Eddie Abu on. But somebody that knows what they're talking about and they can actually back it up by research and science. I know science is always kind of disproving itself time and time again, but calories in, calories out has yet to be disproven because it fucking works. Because it's how we gain fat, it's how we lose fat. Doesn't happen overnight. Yes, if you eat an apple crumble at 11 o'clock at night, you're going to be heavier in the morning. That's not going to be fat. That's going to be because you're taking in a lot of carbs. For every gram of carbs you eat, you hold on to roughly 3 grams of water. That's up for debate. But I'm going to go with roughly 3 grams of water. Your body's clinging onto that. Plus, you have that food in your system. When you eat something, it doesn't just evaporate, it stays in your system until you shit it out, or you sweat it out, or your body breaks it down and uses it. It's in your system. Imagine your stomach is a shopping bag, and you go shopping and you put a carton of milk in that shopping bag. That carton of milk weighs that bag down. When you eat an apple crumble, it weighs you down. It's inside you. It doesn't come out. Like that shopping bag doesn't get lighter until you take the carton of milk out. It's the same with food in your system. It's going to be in your system. You are going to be heavier in the morning if you overindulge late on at night.
The shopping bags still have wee holes in them to let your groceries brief.
I believe the Tesco ones do.
In Ireland,
I think so.
I can't recall any bags with the wee holes in them that let your groceries brief. I don't know if it's since they put in the charges that you need to now pay for your bags that people have refused to pay for ones with holes in them. But I've I've not seen them in ages. You're absolutely right in your point. I was thinking about the as you said that. I was like, yeah,
That's brilliant, isn't it? Better put a hole in this bag to let my carton of milk breathe.
yeah. Yeah. Um,
Um, is there anything that you want to touch on with regards to kind of, because I think a lot of people online do get the calories in, calories out, and calorie counting confused and mixed up. They think it's the same thing. It's not the same thing. Calorie counting is just a tool that you can help to regulate your calories in, and it's a tool that you can use to help you in the calories in, calories out kind of topic game as such. Calorie counting, we are big on calorie counting, as you know. We talk about it all the time, but it is just a tool. Calories in, calories out is how much you bring into your body and how much you expend on a daily basis. And that is going to be the overall deciding factor in whether you maintain your weight, gain weight, or lose weight. But like I say, calorie counting is just an extra wee tool in your toolkit that can help you on your journey. If you're wanting to lose weight, calorie counting's massive, but it doesn't mean that it works. Calorie counting doesn't work for everyone. And like I say, I think that's what people are getting confused about. They're thinking, well, calorie counting doesn't work for me. So obviously, calories in, calories out is a lot of shite.
So I would say, looking at trends, like you would struggle to find somebody 100 years ago who was obese. Like, not that I was about
Yes.
years ago, but like we've got textbooks and we've got pictures and we've got fucking records. And what I do know is that there is a very clear trend in terms of obesity, weight, the calories we consume, the health issues that we have. There's far more of it, and it's only going one way. You could have got away with not counting calories. This is the first time in human existence we've had to count calories, and do you know why that is? Because 100 years ago, you would struggle to get a meal that was more than 600 calories. Right now, you can go to your local shop and probably get one for less than £3. Like this,
Mhm.
there's you have a takeaway, and it's not entirely your fault, but our wee brains are still programmed for survival and eating. Eating and hunting, we don't need to hunt anymore. You just need to, your hunting's going to Tesco. Like that's your version of hunting. So but you can go on Domino's and just literally order a pizza that's some of them 2,000 calories, and most people can eat that because your brain's programmed to go, well, do you know what? Even though you know logically you're not going to die, it's still in your head going, we need this to survive. So you're
Yep.
eating and you're feeling great with it, and that's what people do consistently, consistently, consistently. So as much as they might not think they're eating a lot, the calories are massively higher on it. It's very clear that the biggest issue right now is the fact that we don't know how to manage the types of foods that we're given. You can believe in calories and you don't believe in calories. That's up to you. But I'll tell you what, the world is only going one way, and it's going that way with or without you. So it's your job. You can pretend that you're broken. You can pretend that you're a victim to all that. You can do that if you want. But as I said, if you don't do anything to change it, nothing's going to change.
You have to take action. Things have to change for things to change. It's as simple as that. And I agree with what you're saying. Like, this is the first time in history we've had highly palatable, super majorly calorie dense foods at our fingertips. Like most people's hunting now is hunting for their phone so they can order a Domino's.
To be fair,
So they're
that
taking
is stressful. See when you get the hang of it and you're desperate for that job. Oof.
but that's wiped out, the kind of ah, fuck, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh my God, I have had a massive, massive brain fart here.
The activity that you
That
do.
that's not that's that expenditure. That's the word I was looking for. That's wiped out the expenditure side of things. Back in the day when there was no phones, you had to go get your food. You had to either hunt for your food or you had to actually physically move to go get your food. Nowadays, you get it at the click of a button. You don't even need to move from your couch, and you can have a 3,500 calorie meal delivered right to your door. And then when it comes to your door, you can send the Waynes to go and get it. So you don't even need to move.
For anybody who's listening,
That is
not from Scotland, Waynes are children.
kiddies, aye. Waynes, the Waynes. Uh, so that's what a lot of people are struggling to kind of comprehend because they don't, this is what they know, this is what they've lived with their whole life, this is what they've been brought up with, they think this is normal. When nowadays it might seem normal, but for our brains and for our bodily functions, it is not normal. Our bodies are built for survival. They're made for to keep us on this planet for as long as kind of humanly or physically possible. And the way that we stay alive is by loading up on food, giving our body enough fuel so that it can move and hunt and go fucking farm or whatever they used to do back in the day. Um, Whereas nowadays we're just eating, 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 and not expending that energy. We are sitting on our asses a lot more than probably ever in the history of humanity. Um, and it's now kind of coming to a head, and people are, they've got all these kind of eating disorders, disordered eating, which are two very different things as well, but that's a topic for another day. Um, and they just don't know how to get out of this wee kind of big hole that they're in. And then you've got people like Oprah spreading ridiculous misinformation. You've got people online left and right spreading ridiculous misinformation. See, when you see something online, it's never right in the middle. I like Ben Carpenter for this, right? Because Ben Carpenter, if you don't follow him, go follow him. He looks at things very methodically. He uses personal experience from him. He uses science research and literature to back everything up that he's saying. But what he said was, when you see something online, you're always going to get somebody on the left extreme side and the right extreme side. Like, you're never going to get someone in the middle agreeing on both parts. You're going to get that's bullshit, it doesn't work, and you're going to get somebody saying this is the only thing that works, don't listen to anybody else. And there's so much conflicting information, and it confuses people to the point that they don't know where to start. It's completely overwhelming. They just go, fuck it, I'm not even going to try and start, because you get people telling you that vegetables are bad, people telling you can't eat meat, people telling you that you shouldn't eat um grains, people telling you that you need to only eat meat, people telling you that you need to eat more vegetables. So it's all confusing. Even for us as coaches, it's confusing. That's what we try and do. We try and cut through the bullshit and give you guys it. Stop smiling. We try and give you guys as much information as we can. And I will tell you stuff that's worked for us, but we'll also tell you stuff that's maybe not worked for us, because there's not a one size fits all for every single person. If you what you're laughing at, audio listeners, Coyote's smiling right in my face, and I don't. It's what you smiling at.
Just wondering if you've got your inhaler with you, mate.
I know I need to take a breath. No, no. So there's no a one size fits all. So if you've got somebody online telling you this is the only thing that you need to do that works, and then you've got somebody else telling you no, this is what you need to do, try both and see if one works for you. Fucking keep doing it. But see if you're doing something and you're not enjoying it and you hate it and it makes you feel like shit, then that's probably not the right thing for you. It's all about trial and error, finding whatever works for you and sticking with it. Now, that might be carnivore diet. That might be no eating fucking vegetables, which blows my mind. Some people can eat vegetables, I guess, if they've got crazy intolerances. That
Calling
I just
bullshit
made that
on,
up.
calling fucking bullshit on that. You're telling me you can't
Ah,
eat
yeah.
away. Like, I actually think that goes back to what you were talking about, though. Like, again, that Oprah's enabling all this, and I think that's exactly right. People are broken, but they also don't realise they're broken. It's easier for them to accept the fact or look at it and go, oh, I'm intolerant to fucking carrots, than it is to actually go, do you know what? You're actually obese because you don't move as much, you eat too much. The people around you have normalised it because you've got years of people feeding you too much. That's a hard one for people to take. And realistically, the biggest issue there is just accountability, is just a case of ownership. Just take ownership of it.
Mhm.
It's hard to do, but understand there's no. It's not because you're intolerant. Like, people want to fucking moan about the weight of what's wrong with them. Everybody's intolerant to everything these days, and I'm not saying intolerance isn't a thing before I get fucking cancelled here. Like, I'm gluten intolerant, but you're not. That's not the biggest issue. Need to plug in the old fucking laptop here. Hold on. Just
You're running out of battery.
mate, it's literally was fully charged when we started this, and then there you are. Oh, there we are. We're back in business. You ever play Operation before? You know how it buzzes when you hit the sides of it? My laptop,
Yeah.
one of the camera wires like that, and it's right beside where I plug in things. So I need to make sure that I'm like precision getting the charger, otherwise it cut off the podcast, and we don't want that now. So, um, yeah, just going back to it, I think it's very easy to like for every excuse you make, you can validate it. You can go online and you can find somebody who will shout loud about what you feel you have, whatever's causing
Hmm.
your problem. But do you know what? Like, see when people say like, "Oh, I'm trying to lose weight," it's like, right, cool. Have you actually tried monitoring your movement? Nah. Are you logging your calories? Nah. Are you training consistently? Nah. Did get a gym membership though. Cool, class. But like, are you doing any of the other three things? Nah. You drinking 2 liters of water? Nah. I'm like, right, cool. So the only thing that's causing you angst right now is the fact that you're thinking about getting in shape. It's not actually fucking doing anything. So,
Hmm.
oh, but you know what? I've cut out carbs. I'm like, cool, class. Yeah, you are going to lose like 1.5 kg of water weight, and you're going to feel good for that for a week until you realize that the weight loss stops, and then you think you're broken, full stop. It's like just fucking
Hmm.
get used to the basics. And do you know what? If only there were so many people out there who can help you.
Small hand raise.
Exactly.
But then
But
this is the thing though, you do have other PTs out there who are extreme and they do have extreme issues and they try and force their clients into a carnivore diet, into a keto diet. Um, and that can really fuck people up as well. So I'm not surprised that people have trust issues towards PTs. Not everybody, but some people that I've spoke to, you've probably spoken to people like this as well. They've had a couple of PTs before, they've not helped them, they've completely fucked their relationship with food. So it is, there's a lot of noise on social media, especially when it comes to kind of the health and fitness industry and PTs online and somebody screaming X and somebody else screaming Y. So it is understandable why people are in the position they're in and why they feel like they can't get help because they feel like that they are kind of alone as such. But I'll tell you right now, like one of the most liberating things I have ever done in my life was owning my shit, accepting that I was responsible for the position that I was in. I no one force fed me. No one put the shit into my mouth that I decided to put into my mouth. No one told me to not exercise. I was completely responsible for the position I was in, the shape I was in, the way I was feeling. And honestly, I would probably say it's the most liberating thing because I'm completely different. I don't have all this pent up anger that I had before because I would blame the world for all my problems. Nothing was ever my fault. Um, I don't have as much stress and anxiety as I had before. Yes, I still have it, but it's not anywhere near the level to what it was. I am physically, I am much better. I don't get as much joint pain as I used to before. I used to have terrible wrists, terrible knees. Yes, I still get a wee niggle here and there, but I'm working on ways to improve that. But the fact that I was sedentary for so many years, pretty much sedentary, like especially through my teenage years, I was just gaming, gaming, gaming. So I was sitting down quite a lot. My posture was poor. Me owning up to my shit and being like, nah, I'm in this position because of my choices and what I've done and my actions has honestly been absolutely life changing. And don't get me wrong, like as you know, listeners, Kyle, you all know, I still have my moments where I have a binge. I do go maybe a month not training because I just don't feel like I've got the energy for it. But I now know that that's normal. That's just me being a human fucking being because I'm not a robot. I can't do everything every single day, every single week because it's not sustainable. I have feelings, I have emotions. Sometimes my feelings and emotions take over. But me knowing that's normal, that's okay. I reach out for help when I'm feeling like that, which is why I did reach out to Kyle for my coach, to be my coach. I know that it's not the end of the fucking world. Like I know I can see light at the end of the tunnel. I can get out of this big deep hole that I feel like I'm in. I just need to take ownership of my shit, reach out for help when I feel like I need to, and take fucking action.
100%. I was actually speaking to another business owner about this the other day. They were in a completely different industry. We were talking about actually having the people around you and some people who understand and some people who won't, and people's mentalities when it comes to different ways of working. And I think for myself and herself, she was like, it is a case of we accept the fact that the choices that we've made are going to lead us to certain places, and that's for good and for bad and for indifferent. But she's like, me trying to have a conversation with my family when it comes to like thinking about the same things that I think about. She's like, there's certain people in my family like, oh, you're away on holiday, that's well for some or whatever. And it's like all of that comes down to like them thinking she's doing well because she's lucky in that position, where it's actually the fact that, like, you know what, they don't see the fact that she's still working at like fucking 10 o'clock on a Saturday night. Like that she, like, if you're off on a Wednesday, all of a sudden it's like, oh, why are you off on a Wednesday? Not understanding the fact that they've probably worked in the morning and they're working in the evening. That's why they can, like, at 11 o'clock go to the, like, she wasn't at the gym, but whatever. And I think a lot of it is down to accepting what cards and what choices that you make and what the equal and opposite reaction to that is. But also, I would say genuinely, what you touched on there is you employed somebody, happened to be me, but like you employed somebody to keep you not accountable, but actually question some of the stuff that you're doing. I think we are also used to, if you don't have people around you questioning you, like genuinely questioning your behaviour. I genuinely look at my mates, my good mates, and go, can they question me? Do they question me? Is like, I know for a fact there's certain behaviours, like if I done it, like I'd get pulled on it and go, what are you doing, mate? You've been an arsehole, or you're doing that. You need people around you who are able to kind of call you out in your shit. And it's like, if you don't have those people, then pay to be in front of those people, find those people, because you need people. And everybody's so, when you're in a position where you feel that the world's against you, it's very easy not to want to attract those people, and you want people to tell you, or do you know what, everything else to blame. You actually need somebody. And again, I think that's the purpose of having a coach. And I'd be the same. I employed a coach for both, like you've got one as well. You've got a coach for your fitness, you've got a coach for your business. You've got people who will genuinely challenge some of your behaviors, but also kind of show you, do you know what, you are in control of it. And I've had some tough weeks and tough conversations that I've been like, I feel like just throwing it all in this week. And you know what, like I've had people, like I've had my coach at times go, yeah, mate, fucking like shake yourself off, like fucking sort that out. That's not the way
Mhm.
you want to behave. Like, with all the love in the world, yes, this is happening, but you know what? You're only going to make things worse if you do this or that. And like, there are times where you need a wee bit of a hug, but at times you do need to be questioned on. If you're blaming the world for absolutely every single one of your problems, then think the old Michael Jackson song, wasn't it? If you want to make the world a better place, then look at yourself and make a change. There you are.
Yeah, absolutely butchered it, but I love it.
Mate, I'll be honest. I don't really listen to a lot of Michael Jackson. I'm not going to lie, but I'm pretty sure he had a lyric that wasn't too far off that. I'm not going to attempt to sing it.
Go on, get the listeners a wee show.
Mate, as you know, from the days where I used to sing La Rue, In for the Kill, in the karaoke, like I have plenty of stage presence, but have not a voice.
Brilliant. Absolutely love that. By the way, like we did have Q&A questions to go over and we have not even started them yet. So what I'm thinking is why don't we have next week's episode as a Q&A and give people more chance to get some questions in is
Sound, yes, let's do that. We'll put it up on the Snapchat. Not Snapchat, the Instagram. I don't use
the
Snapchat.
Snapchat. We'll put it up on Instagram. I'll leave a wee box underneath the podcast episode in the description, and you can ask questions in there. We'll Instagram it, and if you're listening to us and you do want to ask a question, just hop on Instagram and send me or Kyle a message with a question that you want us to cover next week, and we'll just do like a Q&A next week. Because yeah, we had it planned for this week, but obviously Oprah got us wound up, and then we went way off topic.
We did. Yeah, no, I've got a sub note, but we'll do it after we've stopped recording because I just think there's about next week's episode and when we're recording it, but that's fine. We'll do that after.
Aye, that's not something the listeners need to hear about.
Yeah, no, we're good.
Touching on like obviously off the back of kind of that Oprah thing, the Oprah scandal. I was watching Lane Norton. He's another one that I listen to as well. He doesn't. I think he had a podcast back in the day, but he stopped it. But he does go on as a guest on podcasts, and he was on Diary of a CEO last week, Stephen Bartlett's, and what an absolutely fucking outstanding listen. By the way, I did put it on my Instagram story. If you've not listened to it, it is on for about 2.5 hours. It is a full shift. I listened to it over about 5 different training sessions just so I could get through it. But yeah, he had a wee bit of a rant about the Oprah thing, and I was obviously listening to it, and he was saying he brought up kind of starvation mode. And I know we've touched on starvation mode on the podcast before, but I don't think we've ever really dived into it.
Yep.
Do you remember us diving into it?
I think we've touched on it, but I don't think we've went too deep into it, no.
Do you want to have a wee chat about starvation mode?
Yes, mate, you lead the chat. Go on.
I'll lead the chat, right? For anybody that doesn't know what starvation mode is a claim that if you eat too little, your body will then gain fat. I think, don't know where it came from, probably from a shitty coach years ago that didn't want to be honest with their client and wanted to tell them what they wanted to hear.
Probably,
That's
probably me, mate. Probably me having
probably
to.
10 years ago when you were just starting. Oh, you're only eating 600 calories a day, but you've no lost weight. Oh, your body must be entering starvation mode.
Starvation mode, yeah, cool.
So,
Yeah.
so do you know what? Back in the day, I used to believe it was a thing. Genuinely used to believe starvation mode was a thing. Um, it's not. Starvation mode isn't a thing. So this refers back to the calories in, calories out discussion that we had as well. For you to gain body fat, you have to be bringing calories in that you then don't use, which in turn the body stores as body fat. Your body doesn't just create body fat out of nowhere. It is physically impossible for you to create matter from absolutely nothing. Physically impossible. So starvation mode is a complete myth. I think it is just designed to help people feel like they aren't failing, and B, feel like there's a explanation out with them taking responsibility for why they're not losing weight. Did that make sense what I said there?
Yeah, I mean, I think you explained that well in the sense that I think actually breaking it down to the fact that fat is a substance, and for that substance to arrive, there needs to be a product of how it's made. You can't
Mhm.
make that without a surplus of calories. Like it's physically impossible for you to do that.
Yes. So people that claim to be on 800, 1,200 calories, not losing weight, oh, you must be in starvation mode, you need to eat more. Bollocks. Absolutely bollocks. I can promise you right now that you're not eating 8 to 1,200 calories. You probably aren't weighing your food, or you're not getting the right portion sizes, or you just don't know what a portion size is, or you're mindlessly snacking and forgetting that you're snacking. I've done this many, many times before as well, when especially in here, right? There's a big biscuit jar. It's about fucking, I don't know if you can see, like it's a bit bigger than my head, right? And it's
Must be
always filled with
massive.
biscuits.
Must be fucking massive.
Massive,
Underneath.
massive. And I'll walk by it, and without even thinking, I'll dip my hand in and I'll have a Rocky biscuit. And it's not until like hours later I'll go, fuck, I had that biscuit, and I'll stick it into my MyFitnessPal. People will mindlessly snack and not realize that they're doing it. Even like, see, like at Christmas is bad because you've got tubs of celebrations and all that line about just walking by and taking a couple of celebrations, boom, 140 calories straight away. But people don't realize, they think just because it's a wee tiny sweet, it's got barely anything in it. I know we spoke about, I think I mentioned this in a podcast a few weeks ago. I've got a client in the gym, and he's like, I started tracking my digestive biscuits, and he's like, I can't believe there's fucking 70 calories in a digestive biscuit. He's like, I would sit with a cup of tea and eat at least 5 of them.
Mate, see the happy hippos? Mate,
Yes.
140
What?
calories for that wee thing. Me. I don't eat, mate. I don't even eat. Like, genuinely, my thing has always been a couple of beers at the weekend, whatever. I'm not drinking at the moment, so I'm like, I've got some more calories spare. So I was taking one of my online clients for a wee session the other day. I had her in, and she brought me like a coffee and a wee hangry hippo or whatever, happy hippo. And
Angry hippo.
Mate, I thought, I fucking don't know, mate. And I was like, right, no
I,
worries. I was like, I
I,
literally was halfway through eating it. And I was like, I better log this. 100 and, I mean, I had in my head this will be about 60 to 70 calories. 140 calories. I'm like, what? How?
it's wild. I know. It's the fucking cream in it. It's the cream. Um, but this is why tracking your food is so vital and so important because it allows you to just build up that wee knowledge base of how much is in tiny bits of food. Like, I'm not going to mention my client's name, but he would not have known that a digestive biscuit had 70 calories in it had he not tracked it. And now he's went from five down to two with his cup of tea. That is a difference of about 200 calories, which over the course of a whole week, see if you're having two, 3 cups of tea a day and you're having digestive biscuits with every single cup of tea, over the course of a week, that can really take you well out of your deficit. That can then lead into you either maintaining your body weight or even slightly increasing your body weight over time and then being like, fuck, why am I not losing weight? I'm only having a couple of digestive biscuits a day, when in reality you're having five, 200 extra calories a day, 1,400 calories a week. And that's only if you have 1 cup of tea a day with your digestive. So all these wee kind of mindless snacking stints, they add up over time. So bringing it back to the starvation mode, if you're not losing weight on 1,200 calories, for example, you're not eating 1,200 calories. I don't care what anybody says about, and your metabolism's not broken either, because that's also not a thing.
Yeah,
It
but
just lose. Sorry, on you go.
no, I was about to say, like, so I've got clients where pretty much the majority of what I do starts off at fat loss, then goes into performance and body composition after that. So it's all very much the way we do things is, as you know yourself, but for anybody listen, it is a mixture of we look at hard quantifiable data in terms of numbers coming in versus out, inputs versus outputs, but we also then look at how you're feeling at the same time. It's a process of looking at making sure that that's right for you and we are adhering to what we say we're going to adhere to. So anyway, look, I've had people before where they'll convince themselves that there are a certain amount of calories, and I'm constantly looking for where's the gap because there's things here that aren't making sense. I will always find the gap. Now, the sooner that someone comes forth and just tells me what the fuck is going on, the easier it is for me to find it. But I will find it. I had somebody the other week who struggling to lose weight, getting in their head. They'd lost a lot of weight, and then all of a sudden it's like things had just stopped. It had been at a fairly steady rate, and I was like, things have just stopped, and it had been that way. But there's still stresses going on. I'm not getting too deep into it because I don't really want to name who they are. Still on board. So anyway, was looking at it and going, they keep logging that they're having, like, let's say their calories were at 1,600 just for talking sake, but they kept on logging they're having 1,100. I was like, there's fucking no way. I mean, no way in a month of Sundays they're on 1,100 calories for the last 3 weeks and are not just not losing weight anymore. They're putting on
Hmm.
fucking something that's happened here. They're either half-heartedly or sloppily logging stuff during the day and not logging others. But anyway, I asked him, like, you logging everything? Yeah, whatever. So eventually I got it. So at one point they were like, oh, I found myself having a few too many drinks on whatever it was. And I was like, cool. But then I looked through their fifth diary. There was no drinks logged at any point. So I said to him, again, it was just a case of, cool, you've been telling me for the last couple of weeks you've been logging everything, but then clearly you've said at this point you've had a few too many drinks, but there's absolutely no drinks logged. So for me, that tells me that when you're having things that don't quite align with how you want to go, that you're not logging them at all. And people do that on a subconscious level, but they're also then that translates to the data that we have going forward. And people will do that and do that and do that and do that, and they'll convince themselves of certain things. Have you ever seen that experiment? They actually done an experiment where I think they set, like, I don't know, maybe it was like half of an audience as like they were all in on it, and the other half were the people being tested didn't know they were being tested. And it was a case where somebody pretty much stood up at the front and they had a mathematical equation. And they were like, what's the answer to that? It was fairly simple. Let's just say it was 2 + 2 = 4. And they went, put your hand up, and everybody has to tell me what the answer is. So the first people who all went up were part of the experiment, and they were like 5, 5, 5, 5. And the people who weren't part of the experiment, they were like, the fuck, it's 4. It's definitely 4. But the time that many people ahead of him had said it was five, by the time it actually came to the people who, like, again, knew in their head it was four, because they wanted to fit in and everything else, they went
Hmm.
up and literally gave the wrong answer. Like, I mean, that was a natural experiment that's been done, but people will try and fit in with other things and convince themselves of things just to fit in at times. And now you can convince yourself of absolutely anything that you want to convince yourself of based on external things that are happening around you. I think when you strip the emotion back and go back to the logics of it, it's like, are you tracking everything? Are you being honest with yourself? Are you being honest with the people around you? Are you open to being questioned? Because if I'm fucking questioning you and going, look, that's not making sense, and you're still adamant the fact that I'm logging everything, but then I have to catch you out, the
Yeah,
fuck? Like, I'm too old to be
I know.
hide and seek. Like,
100%. Hide and seek's class. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. There is always a reason. There is always going to be an answer. If you do have a coach or you're thinking about getting a coach, we're not asking you to completely open up to us and tell us about your life struggles and all your stories and stuff like that. But when it comes to things like food and why you feel like you're not losing weight, it's important that you try and be as honest as possible. Because the more data and information that we have, the easier or the quicker we can get to a conclusion of where it might be going a wee tiny bit wrong. And then that is going to allow us to give you not the answer to get you to where you want to be, but we can give you a couple of ideas and a wee bit of help and a kind of nudge in the right direction. So it is important to try and be as honest as possible. And that essentially is just owning up to your shit. That is just taking responsibility and being like, do you know what? I might have had a few more drinks at the weekend that I didn't track. Let's move forward. Let's move on. There's no point in dwelling on it. Now we can focus. Now we can focus on what we can control instead of what we can't control. We can't control what's already happened. So fucking look at it. Use it as a lesson. What you're going to ask me there?
I was just about to say, you more than anybody, and I put this up as a post at the time, when you again got in the best shape of your life, like you fucked up more than fucking anybody, like all the love in the world. Like but the difference in how you got in the great shape that you did was the fact that you held your hands up. Like I was getting texts from you sometimes twice a week going, mate, I've just absolutely devoured this, and this. My calories must be at least 1,000 over or whatever. And it was like you owned up to it. I mean, to be fair, your nutrition during the week definitely wasn't fucking optimal. It looked like a Disneyland ride in terms of calories in, calories out, calories, whatever, like just in terms of that. But it was a case that we looked at that, we tried to stop it wasn't so much that we tried to stop the fact that you were reaching for whatever Percy Pigs, whatever, it was more so we're identifying the things that was making you reach for them in the first place.
Yeah.
What is the cause rather than the symptom? So once you can identify it, and it's never going to be perfect, you're always, and I say this about myself on a Sunday, like today's a Sunday, but like it's about, I'm always going to have an urge. Like if Jen's
Hmm.
working in the football and I'm always going to have an urge to have a pint, but I understand that urge comes from a place that's like, it's a feeling that I'm not going to be able to like, to get back for a pint. So as much as that feeling's there, I can identify it. And to be fair, over the last 2 years, probably drank about 3 Sundays. Like it just doesn't really happen anymore. Whereas the
Yeah.
previous 8 years, I'd have drank every Sunday. So with that, I think it's identifying what is the causative factor. What are the things that
Hmm.
are making you act in a certain way? And the more open and honest, if you're so defensive about these things and unwilling to actually like dive and do the deep work on it, you're never going to change. Yes, for a short period of time, motivation can kick in and you can like, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to like, I get the fear when somebody tells me when they first start going, I'm not having any takeaways. I'm not having any alcohol. I'm not having any whatever. I'm going to be perfect. And I'm like,
Hmm.
yeah, but that's not going to be long term. And I'm all for, yeah, we're in a good place at the moment. But like, what happens the moment that you do? Because there was a reason for the last 15 years you have been. So, as much as we do need to move away from that and possibly get rid of some of those habits and routines, we need to learn why they're happening in the first place. Because you're just going to be fighting the craving. And when you're fighting it, that takes energy. And that energy at some point will run out. And that cravings will be,
Hmm.
again, you'll not only want them more, you'll be fatigued. And that means they're going to kick in twice as much.
Yes, and I've been there many, many times before where I've tried to just draw a line under it. Like I'm not right, that's me. I'm cutting it to Haribo. I'm not having it anymore. 2 weeks later, I am in a Haribo coma because I've went and got like 3 bags of it or a Percy Pig coma. But touching on what you said about when I got into the shape in my life for the shoot, was it like 3 days before the shoot? I messaged you and saying I fucked up. and I
Yep.
had something literally 3 days before the shoot. I think I was out for the football something like that. I went to a football match, and on the way home, I don't know, I just had this incredible urge. I went into Lidl and I just bought like fucking 4 bags of sweets, and I tanned them on the way home. There was nothing at the time. I don't feel like there was anything that triggered it or anything that set me off. I just had this. Honestly, I felt it was like I felt it through my toes. It just kind of came up, and I just had this like incredible, overpowering feeling. And I did it, and I succumbed to it, and I felt awful after it. But I learned from that. I used it as a lesson, and I learned from it because the emotional response that I got afterwards was way more powerful than that emotional response I got before. I got it like that feeling I got before. I was like, oh, I could really go for it. Oh, I'm going to keep thinking about it. Oh my God, I'm going to keep thinking about it. I need to do it. Was yes, it was powerful, but see after it when I felt like shit, excuse me, and I was so disappointed, and just that feeling of being that just that feeling of being disappointed in itself was way more important to me than the feeling of wanting a bag of sweeties beforehand. So I used it as a lesson. I learned from it. No, that this won't work for everybody, of course. Um, Everybody's emotional response is going to be different, but I used it as a lesson. And now I think to myself when I get that urge, I think about that time that I felt mega disappointed in myself, and I'll ask myself, right, is this bag of Percy Pigs going to be worth that feeling in 20 minutes' time? If it's yes, then I fucking go for the Percy Pigs. There's nothing stopping me. If it's no, then I take an extra couple of minutes. What is the stats? Is it like a craving will last about 3 minutes or something like that?
Yeah, something like that. It's 3 to 5, I think.
So I'll distract myself. I'll give myself that kind of. I usually distract myself for about 10, 15 minutes. I don't give it the 3 to 5 minutes. I'll 10, 15 minutes. And then 9 times out of 10, the craving's gone. But it is about recognizing and identifying the triggers and what it is that's bringing these cravings on, and identifying and um acknowledging how you feel afterwards,
I was
and
listening to
just use it as a lesson.
I was listening to a very good podcast
Sorry.
last night actually when I was on my walk, and there was a guy talking about cravings and what we do to mask it. And he was talking about the emotional response, and he actually was talking about studies done on anxiety. And he's like, the reason a lot of us get cravings for things in the first place is because they change our mental state. So you'll find that the likes of smoking, alcohol, drugs, like they're all big ones, but actually sugar is one of the things as well that again can change your immediate emotional response. So he's like, for years and years and years, I would beat myself up. And he's like, where I'd have something, but I would always realize I was doing it on the back of being extremely tired or feeling I was deserving of it, or I was doing this for this reason. It was never I just want to enjoy it. It was always that. And he's like, there is science to say that when you mask the feeling that you're trying to hide in the first place. So again, let's say that you're tired, or let's say that you're again feeling like you're stressed. If you have whatever it is, that will help, especially sweets because it's short term. You probably have a half-hour response to maybe you do feel a little bit better and you enjoy it. Sometimes it's actually
Hmm.
less than that straight away. You feel miserable. But
Hmm.
when that feeling of masking it's going away, you actually get then hit tenfold with it because it then has masked the feeling that then comes back as almost a rebound effect where it's like
Yep.
the stronger the drug, the more that comes back. So obviously sweets are one, but then you go into the likes of like smoking or alcohol consumption or drug use, which is even worse. Like one of the ones he was talking about is when he used to get super, super stressed and tired with work and he never knew how to decompress. He found that his alcohol consumption went up to a point, but the only way he could keep himself level was taking coke. And he's like, the feelings the following day of what I was trying to run away from came back to the point where he's like, I've never had suicidal thoughts in my life, but I was having them every single
Hmm.
week. I'm like, that's understandable and that's a higher level of drug, but don't think you're immune to that in the sense of like, just because it's Percy Pigs doesn't mean that the cause and effect's not the same. Like, it's the drugs that
Absolutely.
exactly the same.
Absolutely. And it is a case of just kind of running away from the stresses instead of embracing how you're feeling and figuring out a more beneficial way to deal with it. And that's where reaching out for help comes into play.
Well, that's exactly the point in terms of to bring this full circle. That's exactly why people struggle with a calorie deficit, is because it's not so much that it is very simple. It's in the same way that like making £1,000,000, like there's fucking plenty of books out there to tell you how to do it. The reason that most of us aren't millionaires and shredded is because we struggle to manage the inputs because we've got so much going on. And I think
Yeah.
once you can learn, and that's the big thing about being coaches, is the fact that we need to identify what's going on and been able to help you. Like short term, the big thing is to get your results ultimately. Like we can do things to make sure that that happens in the first place. That's what's going to create momentum and motivation. But long term, to make sure that you are leaving a better person, is identifying whatever. Like Gary would probably fully admit the fact he still struggles with like sweets, like struggles with binge eating at times. I still struggle with, again, as I just touched on, like anytime that's loneliness, stress, or whatever, I'm like the cravings for pints are massively high. Neither of us are going to be
Yep.
perfect at things, but I think you could look at us 2 years ago and go, we're definitely better people than we were 2 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Have we made others better? Yes, we have. Are things ever going to be perfect? And that's the thing, understanding that we're not perfect people. They're always going to have those
Mhm.
things, just getting better at identifying the inputs, or sorry, the symptoms, so the inputs are better and more attainable.
Exactly. Striving for perfection is the killer of so many people's journeys and so many people's goals and achievements. We're just striving for progress. That's all we want. See if we're 1% better today than we were yesterday. That's fucking amazing. That's a massive win in my eyes.
Mate, 100%, like I can't stress that enough. I think anytime I've really struggled with, and I've been the person who struggled with not understanding how weight loss worked, and that was difficult to
Mhm.
take for me as a PT. Like when I think it was 2014, I'd already been PTing for about 3 or 4 years, and I still was like, I don't actually know, like, as much as I can get certain people in shape, it's more down to the fact that they are, as a byproduct of me training them, they are already looking at their nutrition being a little bit better. But I don't understand the mechanisms to the point that that I can get everybody in shape, and I'm confident enough to call somebody out and when they're not. Like, I struggle with that, and I even struggle with myself. I remember, sure, Celtic Rangers are playing each other, Rangers Celtic, whatever you want to call it, are playing each other on Sunday. Like I remember always going, but that's a day on the sesh or whatever. But I remember, particularly when I was struggling with my own kind of body image or self-esteem and whatever, I would go out in the morning of it, like say it was 12 o'clock and I knew that we were going to the pub. Mate, I'd try and run or cycle or whatever as far and as much as I could to try and burn calories so that I didn't feel guilty about whatever. Time it got to 12 o'clock, mate, I was shattered. And like I'd have
Mhm.
like 4 or 5 pints and end up just fucking sleeping. Like I'd need to go for like a nap, and like everybody's like, "Oh, you're a lightweight," which technically isn't untrue, but at the same time, it's like genuinely didn't help my cause with the fact I'd been up all day doing these things, and it's like because I know Kyle 10 years ago and the way that I showed up. The stress and anxiety that genuinely caused me on a day-to-day basis, I couldn't enjoy the fucking game. Like don't think I'll be
Yeah.
I don't think I'll be enjoying it on Sunday either, truth be told, but different reasons. But I was going to say, I couldn't enjoy the actual experience that I was gearing so much pressure around because I had these expectations in my head that I had to be perfect and I didn't understand how things work. But anytime I've actually looked at things nowadays and go, do you know what? Yeah, I'm going to have a few drinks or I'm going to do whatever.
Mhm.
I always go, am I doing this for the right reasons? I'm doing it for the wrong reasons. And I can confidently say 80% of the time these days, I'm like, I'm doing it for the right reasons, which means it becomes a lot easier than like there's still 20% of the time I've probably, and it's always in reflection, I'm going, oh, fuck, I didn't really do that out of the best. Like I didn't do that
Mhm.
for the right reasons and like fuck up that time. But yeah, I think it is about identifying why you're doing what you're doing and like what the
Yeah.
outcome is always.
And do you know what? From time to time, you are going to fuck up. You are going to make an ass of it. But it's important to not let that completely derail you. Embrace the fuck ups. Embrace making an ass of it. Use them as a lesson. Learn from them rather than running away from them. Because, like we've said already on this podcast, I fucked up many times. I've made many a mistake. Kyle's done the exact same. We learn from it. If you don't learn from it and you just continue to make the same mistake over and over and over again, you're only shooting yourself in the foot. There is no progress being made there. And that is probably why you're in this vicious cycle that you're in.
Correct. I think we've probably taken the arse out of this podcast now because it's about an hour and 10, I think. So we probably should
Aye,
wrap it up.
wrap it up, mate. That was good. I enjoyed that. Thank you everybody for listening. Kyle, where can they find you?
At biofitness88 on Instagram. Gary, where can they find you?
At GMAC_health and fitness on Instagram, and at GMAC health and fitness on Facebook. I've thrown that one in. I've never put my Facebook in there.
You active on Facebook?
Only when I'm active on Instagram.
So the answer is follow me on Instagram. Really is the
Aye, aye, pretty much, pretty much. But I know a lot of people don't have Instagram. But yes, thank you all, thank you everybody for listening. Remember, next week's going to be a Q&A. So if you get any questions, either fire them to me or Kyle on Instagram, or stick them in the wee box below this episode in the Spotify description. And yes, take it easy. Speak to you all very soon.
Happy Easter.